Gibbo presents.
All right, Walshy, it's time to talk about our mutual love, sound clashes. We are now past the halfway point of 2014, and as I look back through the list of clashes that have taken place so far this year, I can say it's been a pretty eventful 6 months. Let me ask you first about...
Hold on. Wait, before you ask me the question, and we've documented it. So everybody out there, look forward to us dropping, myself and Gibbo, dropping the biannual Clash list. You'll know who the winners were. You'll know who has them obituary there, and you know who they clashed against, and maybe even where it was, if we can. You know what I'm saying? But we do this. It takes a lot of work. To everybody listening, it takes a lot of work, but we do this because we know you guys appreciate being able to reflect. And my main reason why I brought this idea to Gibbo was because I said, I want people to stop going off of what they think. I love math. I love math. You know what I'm saying? I love numbers. And numbers just don't lie. And you can say all you want to say emotionally, you're attached to a sound, or emotionally you hate a sound. But you got to shut up when the numbers come up. You know what I'm saying? And the numbers might say something completely contradictory to what you're saying, which is obviously you're not saying anything that makes sense. So me just being frustrated and reading people's comments and realizing, a real idiot is out there. Let's do this list. Let's put this together, and let's get actual facts in front of people's faces so that they can say, all right, well, before I say this person is this or this person is not that, I can actually look and I can see their record, and then I can make an opinion off of facts. So, say what else and I'll give up.
Well, that numbers talk actually leads very nicely into what I was going to ask you about. Young Hawk's Jamie Hype. In 2013, he was the most active clashing sound, but he's taken things to another level this year. He's clashed 7 times already, and not only that, he's been victorious in 5 out of those 7 clashes. What do you make of his new approach to clashing? It seems to be working for him so far, but are there any disadvantages to competing on such a regular basis?
I think he if you watch his video right here on Gibbo Presents, he pretty much explains that better than I would. He speaks on his advantages and disadvantages very well, actually. I wouldn't even want to rehash what he said. I would advise everybody just go watch that video, and he fully says it. Obviously there's a lot of negatives that that make you clash, that happen when you clash frequently. But I believe that the positives, like him, overweight him. And I believe that just like a boxer, just like a track runner, you are only good if you train and if you actually get into that ring and continue to box. And that's the only way you'll get better. And so the guys that park up themselves for a year and feel like they can just kind of come out, I can't see how they can beat a Jamie who's in there boxing, who's actually and I know people are going to say, but them know him song and them know some of him speech. All he's got to do is change up his speeches. That's not hard to do. And then as far as his songs, people like them. So they become anthems. So you're going to lose. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Soul Supreme. I think Soul Supreme is doing the right thing right now and just roared. Yeah, man, roared. And Soul Supreme is one of the greatest sounds from New York, one of my favorite sounds. If you know me, LP is my favorite sound in America. But Soul Supreme is definitely one of the greatest sounds, and it's such a good thing. And the clash that they had with Blunt Posse was one of the best clashes to happen since probably LP King IDs. And I want to put this on record. Andrew, Digital, if I stop crying, I'll stop bawling, because you putting on that clash is one of the best things that happened to sound system in a good while, okay? So I know you're fretting about fans and patrons and who said they want them, because them to get with them, I personally think they got more than what they paid for, for a full clash with two sounds. But I know the ending is kind of like shaky, and you don't have a MC and no farm or real judging system other than the two sounds pretty much do what they want. Them decide when them want, push them sampler, grab the microphone. But for anybody that's a real hardcore Clash fan, you remember when that was standard. That was it. There was no MC. There was no judge. That was it. That's the way it was done. So I think what you did, Andrew, was something great for the younger Clash fans who've never seen that, who thought it was the most ignorant thing they've ever seen. And maybe they'll understand why it is kind of like, it is a little bit better to have a MC, somebody who can kind of judge, but gauge, what I'm saying, when it's time for a song to stop and another sound to start and stuff like that. So I personally love that clash. I feel like that's something that ignorant something, man. It's just I miss it. I miss it a lot. What I'm saying? I miss hearing somebody play a song and I might just say, yo, Soul Supreme. I just hit his sampler right over your song. Like, yo, what you gonna do? And there was an element of badness to Soul Clash where it's not there anymore. And that's cool. We don't really need that no more. But I do miss it. I do miss it, man. I do miss it. So, Andrew, you did a great job with that clash. So stop worrying about, what anybody negative might say about the clash. I think in the long term, people are going to look back at that clash and say, yo, a history dance. Both sounds played well. The audio was excellent. Great dance. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, great dance. So, yeah, man. So, Young Ark, Soul Supreme, all the sounds that are playing regularly, I think that they're going to have a lot more wins, a lot more glory than some of the songs that will just come out of nowhere. Riddim Force, too. They clashing pretty regular. And, and also I think these sounds are juggling pretty regular, too. I think Young Ark plays a lot. I know for a fact Riddim Force plays a lot just on juggling dance. So I think that constant practice and chemistry and learning how to talk to the crowd, it just does way better than any negative that can come from playing a lot.
Soul Supreme and Blunt Posse, two sounds who feel they are the kings of New York. But based on his activity level and recent victories, some people have begun to mention Jamie in the never-ending King of New York debate recently. Do you think his impressive start to 2014 has earned him the right to this title?
I think he has he's definitely, it's debatable. And I think that somebody that were to say he could definitely justify it and could definitely say, yeah, here's my point. My point is there is actually a king right now, and that king sound is called LP. And you need to kill LP right now. And that would be a good clash. So until that day, with all the stats that say that he's the most clashing and the most victorious sound in New York right now, it's not till Polly, Puma, and Killer D clash him, that I'll give him that full respect. But I say that with all respect to Jamie. You know what I'm saying? Just as a Southern Clash fan, I like to see I like to form rivalries so that the clashes become interesting. So let's kind of put some pepper in the pot and make that something that hopefully will sell a lot of tickets. Let's make that happen.
Let's talk about a sound you mentioned just before, and one you've been driving the bandwagon for a minute. That is Riddim Force.
Yeah.
They secured a big win recently at Global Clash. How happy were you when you heard they'd been victorious in Brooklyn?
Very, extremely, because it's been a long time coming. And when I say that, I mean, all right, first of all, if you're from Miami, this might not pertain to anybody else in the world. But if you're from County Line Road to Homestead, okay, Miami, from South Beach to the Everglades, Miami, if you're from Miami, you already know the work that Frost and X have put in to this sound system culture and to sound clashing. They might be new to y'all, but to everybody in Miami, you know already. These guys have been playing Riddim Force for about 10, maybe a little bit more years. X maybe a little bit more than 10 years, you know. And if you're from Miami and you're a little bit older like myself, then you already know Riddim Force from before X and Ian. When Riddim Force used to come to Narland and come to Carroll City and represent with Chip Lee, which is a selector that I don't know if everybody can remember. But if you don't, definitely ask somebody that been listening to Clashes for a little bit longer. Chip Lee also was a member of Black Chiney. I'm big up Chip Lee because I think he's in St. Thomas right now. I need to go check him. Yeah, but when Chip Lee was on Riddim Force, that was the number one sound in Miami, hands down, no question. So them being the number one sound again is not new to them, new to Everton. When Natural Mystic was playing the sound, rest in peace, Natural Mystic, they were the number one juggling sound. They played on everything. They played Madhouse Fridays. They played at everything. You know what I'm saying? So Riddim Force is not new to being a top sound, a top tier sound, not new to being number one. Then when Natural Mystic died, I think everybody will agree. Nobody will ever question. When Natural Mystic died, that was when the sound just, you know, and that's important to say because, you know, we have a lot of sound members who have passed. And if you look at the track records of a lot of these sounds, it's very difficult for the sound to maintain after an integral part of the sound has passed. And Natural Mystic was the juggling machine in Bud, you know, good friend of mine too. So I think it's also something that we should give props to for X on Ian lifting up a sound, lifting up Everton and the spirits. Because if you talk to Everton, you know, some of them years there, you know, Everton done with sound, you know, done with sound. And done with it. Garnet Silk, take the dubs, crack them up, he's done. He's over it. You know what I'm saying? Because it don't make a sense. There was a lot of years that playing a sound and sound clashing made no sense. It made no sense. Flop dance, nobody didn't respect the thing. It was horrible. Many years sound clash was horrible. I know I sound like Game of Thrones right now. But Ian Frost and X, they rebuilt the sound to the street level where the streets rate them again, you know? And then they rebuilt the sound now to where the global clash scene rates the sound again, or for the first time if they're not familiar with the sound. Of course, they can go and listen to a couple old sound clashes of the sound representing, you know, clashing against Ambition, clashing against YBT, clashing against Mellow, on Sequence, and all of the Florida sounds from them time. You see me? But Riddim Force, you got to give them their props. You got to give them the just due. And I'm extremely happy to see what's happening with Riddim Force right now.
There was a live video stream of Global Clash via streamingliveaction.com, a site which has also streamed a couple of other clashes from New York this year. A live stream is obviously great for those of us who live abroad or a long way from the city where a clash is taking place. But there's an argument that live streaming could lead to poor attendances at clashes, as people who live locally could choose to stay home instead of actually attending the event. What's your stance on this? Would you like to see more clashes streamed live online?
Absolutely, man. What are we talking about? Are we really talking about, like, not advancing? Because then this conversation is over. I'm like, come on. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think Sound Clash fans need to understand. Like, let me not say Sound Clash fans. I mean a small few. Because you have to remember, I know the people that type on the internet are usually not the ones that go to the dance. Please, let's all remember this. The guy that types on the internet doesn't go. So when you go to Global Clash and you see 2,000-3,000 people, you and I both know 2,000 and 3,000 people are not on the internet typing. You know what I'm saying? The actual Sound Clash fans, they go home, they wake up the next morning, they go about their life. But you have a lot of people who sit there and they type and they have negative things to say, or they have things that just don't make no sense to me. Like, I understand you might think that somebody might decide, yo, I'm not going to go to a clash around the corner because I can watch it online now. I get that. But there's a lot of people out there, you know, and all that's going to do, in my opinion, is make me say, yo, man, now I miss the next one. That stream is never going to be as good as me just paying $30 and going and seeing it live and then coming home and being like, yo, let me talk. I'm not going to know where I go. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same. It's not the same. And then you have people that will watch it and feel like they know what they're saying. But we all know if you're not there, your opinion could be skewed versus somebody who's there who can see the whole crowd and can see the forward, you know, roll from the back, come straight, come out the front. You know what I'm saying? Versus the stream that's going to catch the forehands in the front and the corners of the selectors. So at the end, advancement. Anything that advances, evolution, we cannot stay stagnant. We cannot be stagnant. We cannot be humans and be stagnant. And it's very, very, very sad to see that, you know, as humans, a lot of the things we do, you know, we still haven't evolved on. Like I'm holding a pen right now, and I'm holding a pen because in the last 2 centuries, this just has barely evolved. You know what I'm saying? And we all know that probably in a century, this will be extinct. Nobody will use it. You know, everybody will be using a new form of communication and actually writing. Most of us don't write anymore anyways. So I think the same thing is happening with Sound Clash. Don't get left, or don't be the person that's trying to hold it down to something when, you know, it could be blowing up, be bigger, and technology can help that. So I'm absolutely 100% for any forward movements. Yeah.
Another debate which is linked to this one is the releasing of audio from clashes. Again, it's great for Clash fans around the world, no matter their location. And it's also a great tool for sounds in terms of promotion and securing bookings. But at the same time, some sounds don't want their rivals to be able to get to know their dub boxers or style of play and be able to study them.
Name a sound that doesn't want that.
Well, I have heard numerous promoters and sounds tell me that after a sound clash, they've been asked not to release an audio at all, or not to release an audio until after a certain point of time. I don't
Name them, bro. Name them. I want to know who.
Things which are told to me in confidence are off the record. I'm not at liberty to disclose to the public.
I'm gonna tell you, man. You know, I don't. That makes no sense. First of all, if you were in Sound Clash those days, those times, you understand. Say, yo, the audio was the best thing for you. Why? Because people become familiar with your songs. They become familiar with your MC. They become familiar with your vibe, your energy, your sound. Who wouldn't want that? I need to know. Gibbo. Who don't want that? And let's Skype them 3-way, and let's find out what their strategy is. If they actually are telling a promoter. And the only reason why I think some of them would tell a promoter not to is because they lost. And that's my twins right there, man. That's a coward move. You know what I'm saying? I don't respect a coward. You know, if you lost, there's nothing wrong with losing. There's nothing wrong with losing in Sound Clash because everybody knows every song lose. And we still call some of them great. We still call the great ones great, regardless of their record. So for somebody not to want the sound audio to go out there, to me, that's just it would be because they lost. You know, and them don't want nobody hear how they lost, how bad they lost. Otherwise, you know, get that audio out because, all right, so Gibbo, here's another thing, you know, numbers. You watch First 48. You might not watch First 48, but there's a show in America called First 48. And the reason why it's called First 48 is because you have 48 hours to solve a murder before your chances of solving the murder decrease, like, substantially. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at it in record sales. You put out your record. That day that you put out your record, it's the day that matters. Because the next day, it's going to drop. It's going to drop by like 70%. Okay? So the day of your album sales is what matters. If you don't get that audio out the morning, and if you could, the night of your clash, the people that are going to listen to it drop off in huge percentages every single day. The interest for it just goes away. So anybody out there, if you're doing anything in life, since we're talking about sound clash, you have a sound clash, you have the audio, you put that audio out. You don't go to sleep after your sound clash. You put that audio out the night of, morning of latest. You know, you want that audio out. If you're a promoter, for sure you want that audio out. But if you're a sound, you also want that audio out, because what we're talking about is numbers. We're talking about ticket sales. And you want these fans to tell the promoter who it is that they will pay a ticket to see. You want the fans to tell the promoter and to tell the sounds, I will spend money to see you. I will spend money to see you clash him. I will spend money to see that. And that's what something like the audio does, is it gives you an idea of what you'll be able to do numbers-wise on ticket sales. Who's the interest? Where's the interest? You know, what's the story behind the clash? Like I said before, if a clash doesn't have a story, it don't make no sense. So, you know, what's the story behind the clash? And that's what the audio does. So audio for free up immediately.
Last time we spoke, you made a comment about Canadian sounds, saying you thought they were underrated. And this actually sparked a bit of a debate online about this subject. Since we spoke, several Canadian sounds have been in action. To name a few, Little Thunder, they faced Kilimanjaro in Montreal. King Turbo, they returned against Young Hawk in Toronto. And Super Fresh, who of course travelled to New York to take part in Global Clash. Is this what you think Canadian sounds need to do in order to increase their ratings? Either bring big name international sounds up to Canada to clash, or travel outside of their country to test themselves away from home?
Yeah, man. I mean, to keep it short, all of the above. You know, you just can't have an entire country of sounds and nobody's doing nothing. I think Little Thunder kind of sparked it, to be honest with you. Like with that clash with Kilimanjaro, and then, in my opinion, winning against Kilimanjaro, I think that they sparked everybody else and was like, wait a second, like what? Yo, there hasn't been a clash in Montreal in forever, you know, in Ottawa, in Winnipeg, in Calgary, in Edmonton, in Toronto, in forever. So, you know, maybe, you know, several things happen at the same time to make everybody say, yo, we need a representative from the North. And, you know, whether it be they drive up, they bring a sound up there, or they come down, it doesn't matter. It's got to happen. Let them lose. Let them lose, everybody. It's kind of like you just woke up, you know, a person straight out of their bed and just ask them to fight. You know, let them lose for a little while, but they'll get better. They'll get great. You know what I'm saying? And actually, you might see a lot of the sounds like Black Reaction and Newbie and, you know, all of the rest of sound them on so much sound. Linda P, what name? Red Flame, all of those sounds. Maybe they'll actually start to say, yo, we need to start build, because I'm catching that vibe again. I'm catching that energy again. And, you know, it can only be good. So congratulations to the sounds that entered clashes, whether they lost or won, because they've done a big justice for the country on actually kicking the ball off and getting them back in the arena.
Gibbo.